Well, Link, it's just me and you. Olivia asked me to come to her play audition to bring her music. I brought her music, and then she asked me to wait in the car for her. And then she got a little teary-eyed because she's like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. And I was like, nope. I said, whatever you want, I'll do. Even though I really want to go in and listen to her audition and record her audition, I'll see if she'll come home and sing the song for you guys that she's been working on for this. You don't have to feel bad. It's okay.
I felt bad though. I was just like, I don't want you, but like I had so, because I want to sound good in front of my mom. Like I'm sure like every kid, like if they ever see me, like, oh, I want to sound good like in front of my parents. But like, I had to like be good in front of like everybody, so I was like, ah, no.
If me sitting out in the hall helped you feel more comfortable, that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah. I just hate being rude, but...
No, I don't think it's rude. Do you know what, Olivia? It's not rude to tell how you honestly feel. That's okay.
Some kid after came up to her and said, Olivia's so good.
He said, your daughter's amazing. And I said... Would you dare sing your audition song for everybody?
Nope.
Oh, okay, well, I'll tell you what. If Olivia gets the part that she auditioned for, you'll sing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Hoellein, what are you packing for?
Guys trip?
With my dad and James. Where you going?
Going to see some trailers.
Tell me what it is.
We are going to Grand Designs, like headquarters back in Indiana, and apparently there's like a ton of RV trailer manufacturers in Indiana. James's trailer is being built and rolling off the production line, so we're gonna go see it. I don't know how I got roped into this. It was like between James's text and your dad's text, somehow I found myself going to Indiana.
Well, James invited my dad, and then they were like, oh yeah, Joel, do you wanna come?
Well, I'd already told him no, and then he was like, I'll get him here. I'll invite his father-in-law. And he'll have to come.
Okay, and what time are you waking up to go to the airport?
3:30.
3:30 in the morning, so we have an early bedtime. Dad left 3 o'clock this morning. Lincoln, let's get your teeth brushed. You brush your own teeth because with all the owies in his mouth, I don't want to hurt it for you. So I want you to brush that, okay? We're gonna dry off the mouth really softly because his mouth is very tender. On the inside of his lips, they are very chewed up. Then I'm gonna put some Baxitracin on the stitches to keep them moist, but we don't want them soggy, huh? Then we're ready for school. That's what we've been doing every day, every morning and night, huh? Does it drive anyone else just crazy when their kids drag blankets all through the house? I cannot stand when their blankets are being dragged through the house, like dragging dirt from the floor, or like, I just can't handle it. Lincoln loves it. Put your socks on. Lincoln, put your socks on. Sit down right now and put your socks on. When he drags that blanket, I think it's gonna make me crazy because it like catches the blanket or the like rug and it'll drag the rug or dirty clothes. Like it just makes me crazy. I get crazy. I've never had a child experience allergies the way Boston does. How much does Dad give you? Let me see.
Like 500 milligrams.
I've never experienced allergies, but this child's allergies are insane. Do you want to tell him what we're doing?
Getting my stitches out.
We're gonna go get your stitches out. I bet there might be a little tugging, but I don't think it's gonna be painful.
It doesn't.
I don't know what's in these big containers, but the kids think that it's blood since we're at the ER. No, I do not think those are ginormous containers of blood, but I bet someone in the comments could tell us if they came to my Instagram and told me. I just had the most uncomfortable experience of my life. I am sweating like crazy. We walked in, I've got all my kids, and they were like, kids can't be in here, and I was like, okay, what are my options that I can do with my kids? And so we were just like talking about it. I mean, I wasn't like unpleasant, but I wasn't super pleasant. I was just like, okay, what are my options, you know? And this girl looks at me, looks down at her phone, starts like aggressively like typing and like looking at something, and then holds her phone up and was recording me. I seriously was like, is this a viewer? Is this someone that doesn't know me and thinks that there's about to be like a confrontation or something? And then she followed me all the way over to the counter with her phone, and then they started asking me questions. Like, she was like shouting my address, shouting my phone number, asking me like, okay, tell me what happened. I'm like, don't you already know what happened? And she's like, yeah, but we just need you to tell us again. I'm like, ugh. I was just very uncomfortable. And then the girl eventually put her phone down, but I was just like, what are you doing? Like, people that record people in public, it's just really rude. I'm over it now, but that was just unpleasant. It'll kind of feel funny and it might hurt a little, but it's not gonna hurt near as bad as when you got them. So you'll be nice and...
I didn't even feel it when I got them.
Yep, you'll be just fine. Jeez. Got the kids in the car because there's no way I was gonna cry in front of Lincoln. Gosh. You get closer so you can see. How do you feel like that looks?
Good.
You feel a lot better now?
Mm-hmm. I see the blue part.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we've got the kids settled. They had an after school snack. They're having a little ice cream while they watch a show in my bed because mom's bed is the most comforting place in the whole house. And now that I've had just like a second to cool down, the ER, I believe, was understaffed. There was a lot of people there. So I was a little anxious to begin with. And we went in and the nurse couldn't get the headlight to work. And so she's like, would you mind holding the flashlight? I was like, no, not a problem at all. And so I was leaning forward because it was a really small flashlight and it wasn't that bright. So I was pretty close up to the mouth while we were doing it. She went through and she said, okay, I'm just gonna loosen each stitch. And so she went to the first one and she loosened it, and it loosened pretty well. She went to go to the second one, but the stitches were so close together, she grabbed the first one again, and so she yanked it, but she was yanking the first one and she was like, you know, and so she was like a little, I don't want to say frantic, but like a little like jumpy when she was loosening each stitch. And I know that it's gonna hurt, but she was a little aggressive when she was doing it, and I just was like, like, you don't need to. Okay, so I could tell she was a little agitated, and you know, I was focusing on Lincoln because he was like, ow, that's really hurting, you know. And so I told Lincoln, I said, close your mouth because it gives your lips something to anchor, to hold still onto. And I said, if you need to scream, you can scream, because he was like, I mean, she was pulling. And I didn't want to be annoying to her, but I also was my son's advocate in there. And so I said, you do have the first stitch loose. I said, why don't we just get that first one out of the way and work our way down instead of trying to like loosen all the ones in the middle, because your tool is grabbing all the ones on each side and it's not really being productive. And I knew when I said that, it offended her, even though I wish that it wouldn't have offended her. I wish she just would have thought, oh yeah, okay, that's a good idea. And so she did. She was like, okay, yeah, we can do that. And so she started at the beginning, and then it was much more smooth. I could tell that she was having a hard time seeing. I don't know if she could see very well because she kept putting her scissor, you know, you pull the stitch up, you cut by the knot, and then you can pull the stitch out. The first one came out pretty well, and then the second one, she kept getting her scissor and it was catching his lip. And so his lip started bleeding because her scissor was like nicking it, and I didn't say anything, And Lincoln was staying still. He was so still, but he was sobbing. He was sobbing. His ears were full of tears. His entire face was covered in sweat, and I didn't cry in there. And I didn't want to upset the nurse because when I'm in trouble, if I'm hurt, we rely on them. I wanted to remain respectful of her, but she was not doing a really great job. So his lip is bleeding, and she gets to this stitch, and there's a little piece that's underneath his skin, and her tweezers are flat. She was hitting his lip with the thing, just really aggressive, and he's crying. And so I know there was a lot that was building up for this nurse, I could see. And so I didn't want to agitate the nurse, but I also don't need her stabbing my son's fresh wound, reopening it, and like it was very stressful. So then another nurse comes in and she's like, hey buddy, tell me what happened. How did you get this? And this is the fourth freaking person that's asked how we got the accident, and I was not nice. I said, if that's not pertinent information to you, you don't need to be asking that question. I said, it's not pertinent, you don't need to know. Then she just shut up, which was fine because we didn't need the added chaos. And I said, instead of worrying about getting that little tiny piece, I said, let's move on to the next stitch, because your tweezers are dull and you're not going to be able to get that unless you break the skin. She did not like that. And she said, you know, I have other patients. And she said, who did these stitches? And I said, you'll have to look in his chart. I don't know his name. And she's like, I have other patients to see, when she left. There's always that line of like, do I say something or do I not? You don't want to be out of line, but you also like, if you know something, you know something. So a doctor came in and he took them out like bunk, 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 and they came out like nothing flat. I mean, it was clear to me that it was just, she was having a hard time with the stitches, which I don't hold that against her. I really don't. And so I asked the doctor, I said, there is a little piece of blue stitch still left in there. And he said, it'll come out like a sliver. He's like, it's fine. It'll be fine. So obviously I'll keep an eye on it. And if it's a problem, we can take care of it. But it was rough. His shirt was soaked. He was crying so hard. And I didn't cry until I got him in the car. I had the kids all put in the car. And then Lincoln was just like, even we got in the car and he was just like crying. And anyway, I told him how proud I was of him for holding still, because I said, Lincoln, you could have thrown a fit, you could have opened your mouth and screamed. I said, but you did exactly what I asked you. I asked you to hold still and you did, and I'm so proud of you. Lincoln's fine, his lip will be fine. It was just a little more painful than I think it needed to be. I'm not mad at anyone. It was just a rough situation. I think this is a good point to mention, just to be compassionate to other people. I'm telling you what happened. I have zero animosity towards that nurse because I don't know what her day was like. I don't know what kind of patients she's been dealing with today, and I appreciate her doing her job and being there. So no animosity towards the nurse. We always have really great nurses, but it was just a rough situation is what it was. And I think it's important to realize when it's just situational, you don't need to take things so personal. But like, Lincoln's my number one. That just sucked because I don't want her to feel bad. I hope that I didn't make her day worse, because I wouldn't want to do that. I turned off the camera and just like do the ugly cry, and I'm like, Lincoln's sitting in there and he's totally fine. Like, this doesn't faze him. Why does it bother me so bad? And I don't even know why, but anyway, okay, goodbye.